Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we wanted to talk a little about perennial plants and managing them in the fall. Like, for example, lawns, Darren, or alfalfa. I mean, those are perennial plants. We really shouldn't have to do anything with them. They're just going to survive through the winter, aren't they?
Well, unfortunately, that's what a lot of people think. And you look at lawns this year, and they went brown early in the year in much of the country, and really they stayed brown all summer. And guys say, well, I should be fine, right? That'll grow again next year. That's perennial grass. It is a perennial. However, if you completely starve it and it has no moisture and no food for a whole summer, you're probably gonna have to do some reseeding, at least in parts of your lawn.
Okay, but should I fertilize right now this fall, Darren, on my lawn?
It's getting pretty late for lawn fertilizer, and we run into trouble, with perennial plants. A lot of times people think, well, I just need enough food to get through the winter, and that's true. They do need food, but they need it a little earlier than now.
Well, it depends on where you're at in the country, though. So if you're in Arkansas, for example, this might be a good time, but if you're in North Dakota, you're too late. Why are you too late?
Well, because winter is right around the corner, and you can't throw a whole bunch of food at a plant when it doesn't really have time to take it in and digest it and use it and move it down into the root system. You end up with issues when you have lots of nutrients on the surface of the soil. You're more prone to having some leach away or move away with water or snow melt. Also, you're more prone to having disease issues show up like snow mold in your lawn. So you don't want to fertilize too late in the year. But with perennials, like you say, they're going to grow for multiple years, so you have to treat them as such. Don't just assume they're going to keep living. The same in your flower beds. If you've got some perennial plants, hey, some of them are very sensitive to cold, and you may have to cover them up over the winter. At least you kept it out of the 20 below and moderated that temperature somewhat so it would survive.
Okay, let's talk about a crop, alfalfa. It's a perennial, it's going to survive, right? But there are a lot of farmers who will cut that alfalfa late in the year just to get some extra tonnage off the field. What ends up happening if you cut that alfalfa low late in the season?
Well, you need to have some growth out there to try and take in some nutrients, take in some photosynthesis, because you need that energy to keep your plant surviving through the year. And people say, well, yeah, my alfalfa, it's a perennial, it'll survive. Most of it will, but some of it dies off every winter. That's why after a few years, we have to tear out fields or burn them off and start over again because our stand gets too thin. There's not enough plants per square foot. So every year, if you want to keep more plants alive, you've got to give it a little bit of time in the fall to regrow, gain its strength back, and then you don't have quite as much winter kill.
Well, once again, with perennial plants, in the fall, there is some level of management that a person needs to do in order to maximize that stand come next spring. Otherwise, even perennial plants can die off during the winter.
Well, one of those perennial plants may just be our weed of the week. We'll show you what it is coming up later in the show.